So we got this Ohara Davies Josh Taylor fight taking place tonight. It's being aired live on Channel 5 in the UK, which is a terrestrial television station, so it's free to watch. You don't have to have no subscription. You don't have to have cable. You don't have to have nothing like that. Anybody with a television can watch this on Channel 5 in the UK. It's a domestic grudge match in the 140-pound light welterweight division. I saw the weigh-in yesterday, and I noticed that a lot of people were actually swayed by what they saw at the weigh-in to picking Ohara Davies to win. That swayed them. A lot of people saw it and said, you know what? Ohara Davies looks like the bigger man. He looks physically stronger. I'm going to go with Davies. That's what a lot of people online were saying. Well, as you can see on screen, this fight is for some type of WBC title that Ohara Davies holds, an intercontinental or international. And the WBC do check weights. And again, as you can see, the check weights indicate that Josh Taylor was significantly heavier, particularly the first check weight, but even the second check weight, he was a couple pounds heavier than Ohara Davies. Now, this could mean that Josh Taylor was carrying a significant amount of body fat, more so than Ohara Davies going into camp. But it could also indicate that Josh Taylor's simply just the naturally bigger man. And when you look at the fact that Josh Taylor has boxed his whole career so far at 140 pounds or above, whereas Ohara Davies has actually boxed at 135 pounds early on in his career, that really does support the possibility that it's Josh Taylor that is actually the naturally bigger guy, not Ohara Davies. I know Davies looks more muscular and whatnot, but he's a shorter guy. And muscles don't constitute the entirety of what your body mass is, because neither one of these guys is carrying fat, very little at least. So you got to talk about bone density and, you know, the size of a guy's legs. I mean, upper body wise, yeah, Ohara Davies looks bigger. Josh Taylor might have bigger legs. So those kind of things, in terms of, you know, body mass and whatever, they do play a part. Who looks the bigger and stronger, they do play a part. But I'm not yet convinced that Ohara Davies is the bigger man. I think that Josh Taylor is the naturally bigger guy. However, how significant will that be in the fight? I'm not sure. I'm more looking at Josh Taylor's technical advantages. He seems to have the quicker hands to me, and he's taller. He has a much better amateur background than Ohara Davies. That's more what I'm looking at, not so much the body mass. But it's going to be an intriguing fight. I can't wait for it. It's a grudge match. Some people have also been saying that they believe Josh Taylor is too emotionally invested in this fight, that he is too intent on getting at Ohara Davies and hurting him, particularly with the Scottish crowd behind him and then McGuigan's putting a battery in his back and getting all emotional. And a lot of people believe that that's going to backfire on Josh Taylor. And it could do. One thing I will say, which I don't like from the McGuigan team, the Cyclone team and Josh Taylor, is this mantra that they keep repeating, particularly Barry McGuigan and Josh Taylor. They seem to constantly be saying that Ohara Davies is scared and he's shitting himself. This, that, and the other. They keep on banging on about this and holding on to that belief. I think that's a mistake. I really do think that's a mistake. Ohara Davies, I don't know what he's feeling, but holding on to this idea that he's scared, I wouldn't do that. Because if you have got that in your mind and you think you're going out there against a scared opponent and you get out in the first round and he's actually smiling in your face and cracking you with hard shots, that can be a shock to the system. Psychologically, it could turn you upside down. So you don't want to be relying on thinking this guy's scared. So that's one thing I don't like about Josh Taylor going into the fight. I don't like the fact that he seems to be relying on this idea that Ohara Davies is shitting himself. I don't think he is, you know, and if he is, who knows? But like I say, don't rely on that. McGuigan has underestimated opponents before, and I'm talking about McGuigan. as a promoter slash manager, trainer, whatever he is, Barry McGuigan. He underestimated Leo Santa Cruz going into the Carl Frampton rematch. If you remember in my pre-fight video for the Santa Cruz Carl Frampton rematch, I said that, I threw out the possibility that Leo Santa Cruz could do a Marco Antonio Barrera on Carl Frampton in the rematch and actually use his height and reach and turn boxer. He'd never done it before, but he certainly had the physical tools to at least be able to attempt to do it. For those of you who don't know what I'm referring to, Marco Antonio Barrera early on in his career was primarily a pressure fighter, a calm forward slugger, a prototypical Mexican fighter. He got defeated by Poison Jr. Jones, and after that he started developing more boxing skills. But he was still primarily a pressure fighter. So going into the Prince Naseem fight, most people, including Prince Naseem himself, expected Barrera to just pressure Prince Naseem. And that would have played into Prince Naseem's hands. He likes guys who come forward so he can get his big power shots off. But Barrera flipped the script on him, totally surprised him and turned counterpuncher, used his height and reach, the advantages he always had over Prince Naseem, which very few people thought he would use. He actually did use them. Leo Santa Cruz did that in the rematch with Carl Frampton, and I did mention that before the fight. There's a possibility he could do that. Barry McGuigan laughed at the possibility. When he was, asked about that, he said, that's ridiculous. He's not going to do that. He's going to come forward and slug. He's never going to box. Barry McGuigan is too presumptuous sometimes about what the opponent is going to do. Way too presumptuous, and it's backfired, and I think it does filter through to his fighter. I think Carl Frampton got caught up in what Barry McGuigan was saying. He's just going to box the same way. He's not going to try and use his height and reach, this, that, and the other. Backfired on him. Big mistake by McGuigan. And his fighter got caught up in that nonsense too. Could that happen here with Josh Taylor? McGuigan constantly banging on about how he thinks Ohara Davies is scared. Josh Taylor saying the same thing. Could that backfire? I don't know. Whatever the case may be, we're going to find out in a few short hours, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Some people have said that, Josh Taylor being fired up and all that kind of business, he might come out fast, and Ohara Davies, knowing that Josh Taylor is wound up, will just bide his time for the first few rounds, let Josh Taylor burn up some energy, and then try to take Josh Taylor out down the stretch. A lot of people also who are picking Josh Taylor to win have been constantly banging on about this Scarpa fight. And I can't for the life of me understand why people are still talking about this Scarpa fight like it is a damning indictment of Ohara Davies as a fighter. Some of the greatest punchers of all time have been taken the distance by less than stellar opposition. Mike Tyson, one of the greatest heavyweight punchers of all time, was taken the distance by a guy called James Tillis, a journeyman who had been knocked out previously by other fighters. But yet he went 10 rounds with Mike Tyson, the distance. Tyson couldn't knock him out. Other people would knock him out. Tyson couldn't knock him out. And even after the Tyson fight, James Tillis went on to be knocked out by other people. But that particular night, Tyson could not knock James Tillis out. James Tillis stayed away from Tyson's power. He got caught a few times, but never with a real flush Mike Tyson punch. The left hook, I think, dropped him in the 4th round. It was kind of I don't want to say a glancing blow, but it certainly wasn't the full power of Tyson. So Tillis did a good job of staying away from Tyson's power. That fight right there didn't show that Tyson's power was overrated. No. Tyson went on to beat and knock out better guys than Tillis, more durable guys than Tillis he knocked out, like Pinklon Thomas. It just showed that Tillis had a style where he was able to stay away and neutralize Tyson's power to a certain extent. So if a journeyman can neutralize the power of one of the greatest punchers of all time, like Mike Tyson, by staying away and not letting him catch him too flush too often, then why should Scarpa going the distance with Ohara Davies be an indication that Davis's power is not for real, or Davis can never knock out Josh Taylor? And I'm not saying he is going to knock out Josh Taylor. I haven't picked a winner in this fight, but all I'm saying is Scarpa was in survival mode. He didn't turn up to try and take Ohara Davies out. He was in survival mode. And when a guy's in survival mode, it's very difficult to tag him and get him out of there a lot of the time, particularly when he's a tall, awkward guy like Scarpa. So just because Ohara Davies couldn't get Scarpa out of there, don't think he can't get Josh Taylor out of there necessarily. Because Josh Taylor's coming to win. He's not coming to survive like Scarpa. He's coming to actually win the fight. And if he's coming to win and land his own bombs, he's going to give Ohara Davies opportunities to land his. So it's a totally different dynamic than a Scarpa fight. You know, as I say, Mike Tyson went the distance with James Tillis, but later went on to beat much better fighters than James Tillis in conclusive fashion. You know, he beat Michael Spinks. Michael Spinks is better than James Tillis. Trevor Berbick's better than James Tillis. Pinklin Thomas was better than James Tillis. You know, these are all guys he knocked out. Tyrell Biggs was better than James Tillis. Tyrell Biggs is one of the guys who knocked James Tillis out before Tyson fought him. Yeah, Biggs is better than Tillis. So, anyway, those are my final thoughts before this fight. Leave your final thoughts in the comment section below. It's Hyman, I'm out.